Broadcasting live from Nykthos, Shrine of the Gods? Shrine to the Gods?
Nyx? No.
Shrine to
Nyx?
Nykthos.
Is it Shrine to Nyx?
On the plain of Theros.
What is Nykthos?
Tap concede.
How many restaurants on other planes do you think are called Nykthos?
Yeah.
Just like we have
at the end,
60% of all Greek restaurants are called the Parthenon, the Achillean. Yeah.
Pop out for a cheeky Nykthos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody wants a little bit of Nykthos on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sitting at home. You're like,
honey, I don't want to cook.
Do they deliver now?
Can we skip the dishes, Nykthos?
Get some Nykthos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skip the dishes is really regional, actually. I guess DoorDash or Uber Eats.
Uber Eats, yeah.
Postmates.
Not in Victoria.
Not DoorDash. They don't pay their people.
Skip the dishes.
California. Uber Eats. California. Uber
Hey,
Eats.
I'm Graham.
What's happening right now?
It's Dead Kennedys.
We're trying to start a podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you.
Cameron and Nelson are also here.
For various values of here.
I'm Kristoff from Frozen 2. Oh, wait. This is my other job. Right. I'm Nelson.
And today on Tap Tap Concede, I'm very excited about this because 6-7 years ago, one of the earlier episodes of Tap Tap Concede was an episode that we called the real mythical origins of Theros, and it was basically the real Greek myths that we have in our world that inspired the cards of Theros. We had a lot of fun with that, and I did especially as well because, as I said, when I was a kid, my mom sometimes for bedtime stories would read me from the Dulaire's book of Greek myths, and so I was really excited about that. And Theros is back, and so is this. So it's Real Mythical Origins Redux. We're going to cover some of the same ground in terms of the gods, but there's a lot to talk about. It may even be 2 episodes. It'll probably be 2 episodes. There's a lot of cards to go through. But I'm very, very excited about that. But before we get to that...
You should be very, very excited about our sponsor.
Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR for all of your cardly needs. I mean, we say it every time, but we can't say it enough just how great their customer service and shipping are. It's so fast. It's so fast.
Do it for the speed.
Consider pledging your fealty to cardkingdom.com. They will protect you while you farm.
And
for
victory.
Yes, for victory.
That's how that used to work, right?
Yeah. They will be your Leo lords.
Yeah, like is the initial, serfdoms, is it basically just the same as like a protection racket? Like is your lord kind of like a thug that knocks on the door of your business is like, hey, it's time to pay your dues?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I've heard basically that 1500-year period between all the various treaties in Europe and the fall of the Roman Empire referred to as like institutional anarchy.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So check out Card Kingdom.
And tell them we sent you.
You can get a button.
Yeah.
I don't know which one they have right now.
I have Trample today, apparently. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I don't know which one they have right now, but we did send a couple good new ones through, so I'll keep an eye on their Twitter for which button they're offering at the moment.
We may have depleted the baked cat stores.
I think that one's almost out, yeah.
My favorite from February is just Wheeler's Tap Top Concede.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Because that's a good alternative to floating your mana is just draw a random card.
Yeah, see if this wins you the game.
I've probably done that one more than I've just
I added
floated
when I
mana.
did the button. I added an ellipsis, so it's tap top, concede.
Yeah.
Let me just see what I draw. Cool game.
I think I'm dead. I'm dead.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did I put Wrath of God in this deck? No.
Well, if I did, it's not in my hand. Yeah.
Also, everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you all so much for letting us do what we do.
You did this. It's your fault that this intro took 5 minutes.
Yeah. Before we get into the main topic of the real mythical origins of Theros Beyond Death, we wanted to take a quick jump start and talk about Jumpstart. I had no idea that this was, because despite what people think, just because we do PPRs and stuff, I had absolutely no idea that this product was going to exist. And until Paul asked on our internal Slack, was like, hey, Graham, James, are we doing a pre-release for Jumpstart? And I was like, what the heck is Jumpstart? And I had to go look, because we were filming all day and I had to go look it up. We're not, by the way, because it comes out concurrently with the core set, and we're doing a pre-release
All right,
for the
he said
core
we're
set.
not for sure.
Yeah, well,
So we definitely won't do one.
I'm sure we'll stream Jumpstart, but what is Jumpstart?
What is Jumpstart?
What is Jumpstart?
It's weird. It's like,
Is that like when your car
actually,
is dead?
are you familiar with the Paul Peterson designed tabletop board game Smash Up?
I am. I've played Smash Up.
It's Smash Up with magic cards.
Okay, so you buy a box set and it has like 8 packs.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but it's
Okay.
basically Smash Up.
All right,
Have you read the article about it?
I have. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm playing commentary here. A little
great.
bit.
Help me out a little bit though.
Okay, no problem. So you're gonna be able to buy a booster pack and then another booster pack, I think is the deal. You want to purchase 2 booster packs to play.
Yeah,
Possibly they come wrapped together or something, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
The-
Each
now
one
we-
has 20 cards.
Yeah, we haven't gotten all the info yet, but it seems like you're going to get, well, one of 2 things seems possible. You know, I assume this will be sold in the LGS, but we don't know yet. Seems like with releases, it's 50-50 lately. But I assume your LGS will either get a booster box that's a display of Jumpstart that is, it's random which theme is on the inside.
Okay.
The other option is they're going to get like 16 of these different theme booster boxes, which is what happens with color theme packs from the core sets and the guild theme packs from like Return to Ravnica. So, or whatever theme packs they want to put out, because theme packs are a couple years old now. So either they will be separate like those, or it'll just be a regular booster box and you won't know what's inside, but you're supposed to take 2. And then you take 2, you shuffle them together, and you have a 40 card deck.
You can shuffle them together.
Okay, that's what the article suggested, right?
Well, because so each 20 card booster has a theme, and they're like, the themes can be like really clear, like unicorns,
Right. Okay.
right? Which is like it'll all be themed around unicorn cards, or they might be. Another example they used in the article was doctor. Right? It might be things relating to doctors, or they said there might be one that is like Garrick. Right?
Okay.
But then they did suggest that you could mash those 2 together and get Dr. Garrick, right? The Dr. Garrick deck or whatever. And the set has 500 cards.
Okay.
Almost all of them reprints. There's 37 brand new cards
Okay.
that will not be legal in Standard, Modern, or Pioneer, but will be legal in Vintage, Legacy, and Commander.
So like Commander style releases, right? Eternal only.
And yeah, they're like a weird limited booster pack battle. You just sort of you grab it and you play, and it sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's very, very quick off the ground.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm gonna.
You
pull
can
up the
already
article,
do
too.
this with booster packs of other sets too. There's a few different ways to do it. The current one that I think is still the most popular are the GPs when they want to sell you on doing booster pack battles. They're calling it Booster Blitz, and you just open up a pack, you build 5 decks of 3 cards, and your opponent does the same. And then you have infinite mana, but you can only activate abilities once per turn.
Right.
And life total's 5. Yeah.
So I have the article. You were totally right. So you grab 2 boosters, you shuffle them together. And they say each Jumpstart booster has 20 cards. All 20 cards fit a theme, and most themes have multiple variations, enough to make 121 possible 20-card lists inside any given pack.
Ooh.
That is quite a lot of variation for a theme deck or a theme pack.
Yeah. Each booster has 20 cards centered on a theme. What theme each booster contains is randomized, but each themed 20 cards will be sealed inside the pack and labeled. So
you have a pack inside a pack, is that right?
Yeah.
Sealed inside the pack is what it
yeah.
says?
So it sounds like you'll open a booster and be like, "Oh, this is a cat's pack."
And it'll be sealed. So
You won't know what variation of cat's
Right.
pack you will have.
but you'll know it's cats. Well, you'll know which one
Yeah.
the unicorn is because they tell you there's only one instead
Yeah.
of having different ones.
1 in 3 boosters concludes an extra rare. There are 500 reprints. I remember correctly, there are 37 new cards. A bunch of these cards, like 120 of the cards in Jumpstart are from Core Set 21.
Okay, so many of the
Okay.
cards you open will actually be standard legal.
Yeah.
It's just that the new cards aren't.
So it comes out at the same time as the Core Set. And each pack includes one basic land with art that matches the pack's theme. A few of them use thematically appropriate lands from M21, but most of them use brand new themed land art created for Jumpstart. And there will be a pre-release for Jumpstart the same time as the core set pre-release.
That's very peculiar.
No, isn't it the week before?
The week before. So it's
yeah.
June 2020, June 20th and 21st.
So you get your very own pre-release this time. That's going to happen either the same day as our pre-release for Core 2021 or the day after. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, pre-releases usually are Friday, Saturday, Sunday now, but I don't know if they'll do that. I don't know if they'll do a Friday for the Jumpstart pre-release or not.
Yeah.
Seeing this, it's like an extra event. I certainly haven't seen the sanctioning window open up for that yet. I don't
I'm
know
all
exactly
for.
what the details are.
I'm just as a general rule. I'm all for Wizards experimenting with weird, funky formats.
Absolutely. I was going to say like
mystery boosters, Jumpstart.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
throw it at the wall, see what works.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
20 cards in a pack, but one land.
Yes.
So when you combine the two decks,
Yeah.
you have 40 cards, but only 2 lands.
Yeah.
So you're cutting cards to put the land in, or are you adding lands to the 40 cards? So are you playing a 40 card deck, or are you playing a 60 card deck?
It does not specify in this article.
I know it doesn't. I'm reading it as well. Now I'm confused because
Well, they did mention that there were
Just draw
set
both your lands and
specific-
cast all your spells. There's
Yeah,
nothing
I
in the
guess-
set that costs more than 2, right?
Yeah. Deck curves out at 2, so I put in 3 lands just to be safe.
They must have lands because
Yeah.
it says grab 2 boosters, shuffle them together, and you're ready to go. But then the bullet points say each pack includes one basic land with art that matches the theme. So there must be other land.
in the
maybe
packs.
Maybe each pack also has
So then-
6 non-basic lands. That
So
are
then,
like dual
so then you are only getting. So yeah, then you're getting.
a regular pack's worth of non-land cards.
Yeah, so that I guess also says that every theme is monocolor because there's no way you could support more than 2 colors, right?
Yeah.
In those
right.
packs.
If you you draw badly or you open badly and you wind up in a 4-color deck.
Well, unless the 20 cards broke down more as like 11-9 or something in favor of lands.
That would be kind of. That seems not great.
Then at least you'd cast your spells if you got a bunch of like tap lands
Yeah.
in your life and some basics. You'd cast your spells.
Because I assumed it was like my assumption was it's a monocolored 20 card pack, and if you get red, then you're going to get 7 lands, or I guess it would have to be closer to 8.
Yeah, maybe 8 or 9 would be correct.
8 or 9 in each pack, right?
Right.
Because you need.
That's right the first time with 11-9. You just play 18 land.
Yeah, I'm curious how that's going to work because like it doesn't feel like they've said anywhere how that's supposed to work.
Maybe there'll be some common creature land they print.
Yeah. The other thing that I was kind of weirded out about this set, and I feel like there was other names. Why would you name a product after a known mechanic?
right.
Isn't that kind of weird?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
They reuse the names a bunch. A bunch of sets are the name of a card.
Yeah.
The card came first often.
But it's just it feels like there has to have been another name out there that they could have used that isn't already associated with their game. And I get that
They were pretty sure that Smash Up would sue them, though.
That's true. Yeah, their list was Smash Up or Jumpstart, and they're like, "Well, we can't do this one, so I guess it's Jumpstart."
What about Crush Down?
Oh, here we go.
love
On
it.
the stream, they said 7 to 8 basics per deck.
Okay.
Okay, so so then you're actually getting 12 to 13 cards
Yeah.
because you're it's not 20 playable cards and then some land.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's what I assumed it was. I just didn't see that anywhere in the.
That's definitely a much smarter thing, being that so that you can just.
Yeah, so you just smash them together.
Yeah, the bullet
right?
point's a little confusing because it lets you know that you're guaranteed one of these basic lands.
One of these
that is
fancy lands.
themed, right, or
Yeah.
like new art basic lands, but it doesn't, spell out entirely that you will get 6 other lands at least, so that you can
Yeah.
cast your spells. Cool. So Jumpstart's coming out in July,
Yep.
along with 2021. So that's 2 sets away. Hey,
Yeah.
It's a lot of product.
yeah, exactly.
Neat.
2020, there's going to be even more Magic releases than 2019, and you forgot about half of them. So just
That-
keep your seatbelt buckled at all times.
Every-
He's throwing the
Magic
releases every
singularity.
week, man. That's right. Every Magic release is
Also,
happening.
I know you were throwing some shade there, but this is very much an LGS product.
Great.
Like this is absolutely because it's a like you have to go to the LGS to
Good.
do a pre-release.
Yeah, I figured.
So this is very much an
Unless
LGS
they're changing
product.
what that means.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't. Well, I mean, I was throwing shade just now for sure, but I didn't. I honestly did not mean to throw shade because like the way this was announced was different, and obviously the whole product is kind of confusing and weird. So I just genuinely didn't know if this was like something you had to like order like a secret layer.
No, that's fair. I mean, I get that,
Yeah.
but yeah, this definitely screams like.
Okay, they
LGS
said that the
thing.
LGS are going
Yes.
to get it. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I'm also glad to hear that it's just sealed. It's so weird that it's sealed inside of a wrapper and then it's sealed again. But I like that you just buy a pack of Jumpstart.
Yeah.
So you just buy 2 packs of Jumpstart. You don't have to like sit there and think like, oh, I want the dragons one and the elf one, you know, because then variably
We need to
like
do a
4 of them
stream.
will sell out immediately.
We need to do a stream, James, where we just get like a ton of these and just go ham.
Sure.
I'm in.
Yeah, that sounds
Same.
fun.
Speaking of going ham, I can't make a good like pork joke, but we are going to go
People
hard.
have been eating ham since the time of the ancient Greeks.
Yeah.
Probably.
Why not? That works. Sure. So,
Speaking of going ham, we're about to do the most ham-fisted segue in the history
Yeah.
of Tap Tap Concede.
Buttery smooth. Pig buttery smooth.
pig butter. Wait. Are you all right, Cam?
Thanks for still watching after that last 30 seconds.
Pig butter
Appreciate you
implies
that
the
you're still here.
existence of commercially available pig milk.
Oh, man.
So, I want to give huge shout outs to.
Master of the pocket bacon over there. He's not okay.
Pig cheese.
Oh, no, that's so much worse.
Yep.
I want to give huge shout outs to community member Ryber.
Ryber.
That's RAAABR, real name.
They added a new A.
Yeah, there's 3 A's. I think it depends on what platform they're on, how many A's
okay.
they have. Real name Aaron, who did the massive, the Nemean Lion's share of the heavy lifting of this research, and wrote it down in a document for me very kindly, which was also edited by Raven Kennedy. They wanted to make sure that Raven also got a shout out. So thank you so much, Aaron, for all of this, because they contacted me a while ago and they were like, "Hey, are you doing another Mythical Origins thing?" Because they are a classics student.
Oh.
Like they're this is what they're learning about.
Right.
And they were like, "Do you want some help on the research for this?" And I went, "Yes, I absolutely do, from someone more knowledgeable than I. Thank you." And so yeah, we're gonna look at the real world myths that inspired the cards of Theros. So we're going to start with the gods. So James, if you want to hit up Heliod to start with, and then get ready with additional gods. Obviously, we've seen a bunch of these gods already last time, so some of this will be, a recap.
If you've been watching every episode
you've
for
been
7 years.
keeping up on every episode of Tap Tap Concede. But so Heliod, sun crowned, the god of the sun, or I mean, generally sort of the head god. He is sort of a mashup of 2 Greek gods. Obviously, Helios, the god of the sun, but also Zeus. That's fairly obvious, I think. That
Does Heliod also have Helios's healing portfolio?
I don't think it's come up
Because
in
Apollo-
Theros.
Like, I know Apollo, at least for the Romans, was also a god of medicine. Mm-hmm. Right?
That sounds right. And like wisdom and the hunt or something? Or no, that's Athena.
No, that's Athena.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Athena is like wisdom and war.
I'm going to continue to play the clued out member of the podcast.
So obviously, Heliod, like Zeus, either are the head god or consider themselves to be the head god with the ego to match. So, very, very clearly mapping Zeus and Helios both to the same sort of avatar in Heliod. Thassa is just Poseidon. She's got 1 fewer tine on her fork, and that's it. Like, Poseidon had a trident, Thassa's got a bident.
Now she just has a spear.
That's about it. Like,
Thanks, Kira.
Yeah.
Yes.
just-
Oh God, she lost the other tooth too.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's just a spear, I guess. But yeah,
Or a unident, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
Under the sea. A
Or what-
monodent.
Wait, it's
Monodent.
Greek or Latin root? Is mono or una?
I don't know. Sorry.
unident sounds like a toothpaste.
So does Monodent.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, you're right.
Sounds like a worse toothpaste, though.
So yeah, by Aaron's estimation, Thassa is the least sort of altered
Right.
god on the pantheon. It's just sort of like, what if Poseidon, but a woman? Thassa.
I do like the capriciousness of sea gods being like, maybe the ocean just kills you today for no reason.
Yep. So Erebos is another sort of fusion of Thanatos, the god of death, and more obviously Hades, the lord of the underworld. Notably, it says here, of the original Theros monocolored gods, he's the most distinct in terms of weapon choice from the originals because Hades doesn't use a whip. Hades had a bident to match the one-pointed spear or lightning bolt of Zeus and the trident of Poseidon. So Hades had a bident, but Erebos uses a whip because it's cool. Perforos is almost exactly Hephaestus, god of the forge, obviously. I mean, the Perforos' omen is, of course, the omen of the forge, and he's all, he's got bronze blood, he makes weapons and everything.
He lives in a mountain, right?
Yeah, he's also got a little bit of Ares, the god of war, in there, just from like his armor and general sort of appearance.
Right.
And obviously Mogis and Iroas take up other aspects of Ares, but Mogis and Iroas aren't in this set.
Right.
Perforos is a bit more like glorious than Hephaestus, right? Like
Yeah, well,
Hephaestus is just doing work
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like he's just at the anvil.
Well, he was also one of the
only time you see him.
he's also a wounded god, right? Like,
right, okay.
But yeah, Perforos doesn't have Ares's bloodlust,
Yeah.
right? Because like when Ares showed up, he just kind of showed up, killed all your heroes, and was like, "War's done. Bye."
Nylea is, of course, Artemis, god of the hunt, has a bow, just like Artemis. And yeah, almost exactly the same, to be honest. I guess another one very similar to Thassa is just a fairly one-to-one sort of representation of Artemis. And Athreos is also a little bit of Thanatos, the god of the dead, but much more inspired by Charon.
Yeah, Charon.
There's been so many different
Right.
conversations about how to
Charon.
pronounce. Yeah, Charon. Yeah.
Right.
Charon.
So the
Says
ferryman,
CH, I'm going to say
right?
CH.
Yeah.
exactly the ferryman on the river Styx that you have to cross the river to get into the underworld.
This one I only know because I watched Boondock Saints as a teenager.
Yeah. He acts as the ferryman of the 5 rivers that ring the world, a clear allusion to the rivers in the underworld, more than just the Styx, the Acheron, and Lethe.
Yep.
Yeah. And his mechanic of accepting coins is a good representation of how you need to pay the ferryman or for him to take you across. Clothis, our new god, has a lot of design elements lifted from several gods. Her blindfold, a reference to Themis and or the Roman goddess of Justitia, so Lady Justice,
Right.
the blindfold, and holding a scale, which is more obvious in the constellation art variant, apparently. Further ties her to those. And as a god of destiny, though, she's more like the Fates,
Right.
which have their own card
Yes.
from the previous set. But
well, and
yeah.
Clothos is the name of one of the Fates.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Clothis has sort of all this string, and of course she you see that with Calyx as well. That Calyx is the hand of destiny.
Right.
That's his name.
That's
I believe so.
Planeswalker from the set.
Yeah.
CALYX, I think.
So a couple interesting notes from
Thanks.
Raber here. The monocolor gods have interesting names because WotC is likely trying to invoke divine epithets, which are titles given to the Olympians that indicate the deeds and specific forms of the gods you're trying to call help from. For example, in Greek myth, you have Hermes Argophontes, or Hermes, slayer of Argus, referencing his slaying of the 100-eyed Argus in the myth of Io. Another famous example is Phoebus Apollo, which references Apollo as a god of the sun specifically. So sun-crowned, deep-dwelling, bleak-hearted, bronze-blooded, and keen-eyed all seem like English versions of divine epithets,
Okay, right. Okay.
which is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And a fascinating note that I hadn't even considered is on Theros, among the 5 monocolored and the 10 dual-colored gods, there is no god of love.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
on Theros. Raber says the closest we get is probably Perforos, who seems to be somewhat associated with passion.
Yeah.
But this is notable for a couple of reasons. The ancient Greek perception of love is too complicated to explain in full detail. So I will say that this is Raber speaking. I'll say it's divided up into multiple forms, representing not just romantic love, but also the love you might have for the world, the love you might have for family and friends. And this perception of love maybe isn't very rife for a god who's not just, or would be very rife for a god who's not just lust,
Right.
but they didn't use
Right.
it.
There's Eros and then there's agape.
Yeah. But the other note is that in Greek myth, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, is one of the few gods who everyone worships. It's Aphrodite of the people.
Right.
And it's just weird that in a plane like Theros, where belief spawns new gods, it's interesting that that there is no god of love.
Yeah.
It's an interesting omission.
I feel like from Born of the Gods, I forget her first name, but she's like the god of the police, like the
Afara.
people. Afara, yeah.
Yeah.
I sort of got a bit of a
There's definitely some bleed there, yeah,
Right.
but she's definitely god of the city, god of the people, but not of love.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So it's
Afara
interesting.
is definitely more like a god of order.
okay.
And
But she seems like
maybe-
she's gentle. You know what I mean?
right. But what about Karametra?
Okay.
God of
Yeah,
the
I guess that's
harvest?
Yeah.
she's maybe got more of she might be more closely associated with Bacchus or something, where it's harvest time.
I guess
let's
Karametra is
party.
more related
or maybe that's
to,
I'm thinking of the satyr.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe actually Xenagos would have been a decent angle too for having some influence.
Well, yeah. I mean,
God
there
of
was
the
some
party.
speculation that
Yeah.
whatever god took Xenagos' place, or that Xenagos had displaced, was the god of love.
okay.
But
maybe they're still displaced.
but actually, yeah, the old artwork here for Karametra has a lot in common with the Empress in tarot.
And she has a giant thing. It's a sable, I think. A giant, I think, with a bat head. It's
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
weird,
yeah.
but yeah.
I've never noticed that. I just thought that was a hill.
Oh,
okay,
no, she
yeah,
has-
she's
she has
sitting
a
on
giant animal.
She's sitting on a big
Thing.
stellar mammal
Yeah,
of some kind.
Stellar mammal.
aren't we all?
This TV's
stellar
great.
mammals?
This every week I get to see some piece of magic art that I'm like, oh wow, look at that little guy there. You know, never noticed it before. Thank you, 4K.
So let's move on from gods to demigods.
Okay.
So Raber says, as a general rule, it seems though demigods are heroes, alive or dead, who are uplifted by the gods to become entities of Nyx, which is different from demigods of Greek myth, which were generally speaking children of a mortal and a god.
Right.
Sometimes the mortal thought that the god was also immortal at the time, and often it was not entirely consensual.
Yeah.
Usually the gods are putting on the clothes of a mortal and then wooing a mortal. Right?
Yeah,
And, tricking.
Zeus did a lot of really creepy, I'm disguised as this now, and go
Yeah.
down and start effing about with mortals, and then Hera would be really mad about it.
Yeah. It's you want to have sex with a swan, right? What?
So
Immortality is a long time,
yeah, long time. So Daxos, blessed by the sun, Raber says, doesn't have a lot specifically to tie him to a particular hero, but ascension into being a demigod after death, and the flavor text on Rise to Glory, a hero dies and a legend rises, and him being tied to Heliod specifically, which is the sort of the Theros Zeus. It puts him basically as the best we have of Heracles, or
Right.
Hercules,
Hercules,
but
yeah.
Heracles in the Greek thing. Maybe some Bellerophon, since Daxos gets the sun mane Pegasus.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So, because Bellerophon,
And
there
is
was
Hercules is Pegasus.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Or not
Well-
Pegasus. Horse.
yeah,
Yeah. Pegasus was just a Pegasus. There was no.
there was one Pegasus.
Yeah, one Pegasus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Bellerophon, tamed the Pegasus. So that's to fight the Chimera.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Caliphate is Odysseus.
Yeah, I thought this was Odysseus.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
She's less of a dirtbag than Odysseus, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah. Odysseus was like kind of a jerk, but
Odysseus like lied, cheated, and stole.
Right.
That was his like, at least from the Odyssey and from the Iliad.
yeah, and as Raber also notes, an important distinction is that Caliphate has earned the respect of the Poseidon of this
Right.
world. Like Thassa respects Caliphate, and the Odyssey was mostly Poseidon effing with Odysseus.
Yep.
But this is most noticeable not just from the fact that on her own card Caliphate is piloting a ship, but that there's the cycle of vanilla enchantment creatures that all have verses from the Caliphate.
Oh, so that also ties
Right.
her character to Odysseus.
Yeah, well, because Odysseus is the character of this epic poem, and so like Nyxborn Colossus, for example, has part of the. I'm just
The
hoping
Caliphate.
James can
The
gra-
Caliphate.
I think it was the
Caliphate or whatever.
I think so. Anyway, so there's an epic poem about her.
Right.
So it's like, oh, okay, you're Odysseus. Yeah, the Caliphate.
Caliphate.
Thank you. That makes more sense.
Fox cunning Caliphate, slippery speaking, entangled their senses. Classic Odysseus.
Classic. So Timuret is interesting
Yeah, who is
because
Timuret?
well, Timuret doesn't actually really have anything that ties him to.
There's no Greek murder king?
Yeah, not really.
There
But
must have been.
This
Didn't
is
make it into the
interesting.
history books.
No, but this is sort of like a inspired by the fake true story sort of thing because Agamemnon, the king of Mycenae and a primary general in the Trojan War, was a Greek hero, but like not a great
No.
person. Sacrificed his daughter to the gods in order to avoid getting cursed by Artemis for trying to pursue the Trojan War. Responsible for starting the Iliad by forcing Achilles to give up his property of a captured woman because he had had to let go to end the cursing by Apollo. Anyway, so I don't know. Agamemnon, not a good guy, and there were digs around the ruins of Mycenae that uncovered a golden burial mask, and archaeologists were like, "This is the face of Agamemnon." And later archaeology and study were like, no, it's not. This is not Agamemnon. It's a mask. But this notion of the golden mask of Agamemnon is sort of like a
Persistent.
a persistent. I mean, meme is maybe the wrong word, but like it's just sort of like one of those things. Like, oh yeah, Agamemnon, he had the golden mask, and it's like yeah, that's what we were taught for a while, but that's not Agamemnon.
Right.
But that's probably why this murderous king on the magic card has a golden mask, because it's sort of like, oh yeah, people sort of have that connection still to Agamemnon. So
Right. Okay. Like, I realize now I've probably been reading Timuret wrong this whole time, where I thought he was the king of murders. Like, he was a murderous king.
right.
Maybe that, yeah. Timuret, murder king.
No, I'd prefer
it's,
not.
It's like being Mayor McCheese.
You know, since we're kind of unclear about the derivation of Timuret, I'm going to go back to my also. I completely unbroken. I'm never going to admit that he was a murderous king. I've been there the whole time. He is the king of murder itself. That's where I'm.
That's where
I'm
you're
reading
staking
the
your
card.
claim?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's where I'm putting my
I
draft
see your
bucks.
hill over there,
Yes.
and I respect it.
Great, thank you. There's a lot of murder over here.
I'm on this other hill.
We all have to die somewhere.
So Anax, obviously, whose name is a reference to Ajax, but feels like more sort of inspired by Leonidas.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because like Leonidas was actually a real human
Yes.
who existed in the world.
Right.
Which is, I think, different to most of the people we're talking about today. So it's just kind of interesting. But Leonidas has definitely, due in no small part to 300, gained a very mythical status at this point. But there's more on Anax when we talk about sagas.
Right. Yeah.
And the last demigod, Renata, is a reference to Atlanta, one of the few female heroes in Greek myth. Not only was she a legendary hunter, but in Renata's story card, it's noted that she can hit a boar a half a mile away with her spear, and one of Atlanta's myths involves the subduing of the Caledonian boar, and with the spear. And Renata has her spear, so that's Atlanta. So the sagas. I mean, first of all, I love that sagas are back in Theros
me
because
too.
it made
Love them.
perfect sort of
them
flavor
all
sense.
the time.
Let's start
I
with
still find them a little awkward to play.
I love them because I love finding out, or I love watching people learn that once you resolve a saga's final verse, then I get a Mayhem Devil trigger
Oh, yeah, that's
because
great.
you sacrifice them.
It's true.
And I'm like, yes.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, sacrifice it after the last chapter. So it's like that is kind of weird. It's kind of weird that you, if I'm remembering right, you sacrifice it after the last triggered ability has resolved.
Yes.
Like most things in
Or-
Magic, you sacrifice them when it goes on the stack. But I believe it's actually when it resolves.
Then sacrifice it?
I think it's like another. So there's that, and then there's putting a lore counter on after you draw your card, or sorry, after you draw step. Nothing else, I don't think,
All right.
tells you to do
I think
something
it gets-
after you draw step.
Once the number of lore counters on a saga is greater than or equal to the greatest number among its chapter's abilities, the saga controller sacrifices it as soon as its chapter ability has left the stack.
Ah, okay.
that
Most
weird?
likely by resolving or being countered. This state-based action doesn't use the stack.
Yeah, so that's weird, and then also the whole like very beginning of your main phase thing.
Yeah.
It sort of feel like because it's a thing that happens early on in your turn, we're kind of hardwired to think that this is the upkeep.
Right.
Right? Like this is where things go. So
Anyway, very glad to have story time back.
not complaining so much as just pointing out that they still kind of take me aback, but they're such cool cards. So cool.
So let's start with the birth of Miletus, which is an alternate take on the story regarding the choosing of Athens' patron god. In that myth, Athena and Poseidon compete in order to become the patron, with each providing a gift to the city. Poseidon provides a useless saltwater spring, and Athena provides the olive tree, which is immensely useful. In this case, it seems a lot more literal, sort of building-y. And it's like, we made you this wall. Right? And as a side note, actually, this is funny because we were talking about this earlier. Ephara is an interesting combination of Athena and Demeter, of all people. Demeter was a god of the harvest, but she was also worshipped in aspect as a civilizer. The idea was that she taught humanity agriculture and thus brought civilization.
Okay.
The Thesmophoria was a festival that celebrated this. Elspeth conquers death. This is not a specific myth, but there's a recurring theme in Greek myth of the katabasis, or the descent. In this context, it's referring to the descent into the underworld, and as seen like in Orpheus or in the Iliad. And then Elspeth succeeds in her escape, earning her freedom, unlike Orpheus, who's a big dummy.
The Orphic myth is
Orpheus.
really about funerary rites. You can follow the dead into the underworld all you want, but you have to learn to say goodbye at some point. Funerary rites are for the living, not the dead.
There's a lot of sagas that don't actually have specific sort of Greek references, like Horibus the sea god isn't. It's like maybe it's a reference to the Odyssey, kind of, but like
It's the story of how I won that draft.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Like Elspeth's nightmare is just like not really anything sort of going on there, but the Acroan War. So this is the Trojan War, but shifted somewhat. Slightly alternate history, obviously. The first step probably represents the kidnapping of the Helen of Troy equivalent, likely Cymede, because we remember Anax and Cymede.
Yeah.
What happened to Cymede? Well, looks like being kidnapped there. But it could be another queen of Akros. It's only temporary, though, indicating how Helen returns to Sparta after the events of the war. The second step represents the mass endless combat that occurred during this time, as well as how all the Greek city-states were forced into the conflict due to a long-held alliance to band together and fight in case Helen was ever taken. And the third step is the total desolation of the war, with many of the heroes on both sides self-destructing horribly, all for naught. And as you see, I love that the bit is that the tapestry isn't even finished being woven in the art. You can see the loom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
never
appreciated
noticed that
before.
either.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like that a lot.
So even the like weaver was drawn into this, had to put down their needles or whatever and
Yeah.
go pick up their axe. I don't know anything about making tapestries or war.
I believe at this point the Iliad takes place firmly within the Iron Age. However, Homer does take liberties with it, describing the Trojan spears as bronze many times so that they catch the light, indicating the favor of Apollo.
Okay.
At least that's what I heard.
So the next one I want to talk about, I was very excited as soon as it was spoiled. So it's the Binding of the Titans, because I was like, oh, I got to do another real Origins episode, because this is some deep Greek myth here. So the Titanomachy, which is the battle between the Titans and the Olympian gods. All the Olympian gods that you know of, Zeus and Aphrodite and Ares and everything, they're wave 2 of the rulers of the earth. The first were the Titans, their parents, who they fought and defeated and banished to the underworld. And
Right, isn't one of them Chaos? Isn't Chaos one of the early, or I might be getting my D&D mixed
so that
up here.
okay, so you've got, let me see here.
Kronos is the one I always remember.
Oh, okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Or Kronos in the original Klingon.
Is Kronos like the oldest god? Or
Well, he's the Saturn who eats his children.
okay.
So, because the chaos. So there was like Gaia, there was like the Earth, and gosh, as I'm trying to remember it all coming back to me now. There was like the Earth and the stars, to an extent, and then they felt they loved and created the Titans,
Right.
and then the Titans created the gods that you know of now, and then the gods banished, not all of them. They didn't banish all of the Titans. Like Rhea, mother of the Olympians, was probably not sent down to the underworld. But
Graham just managed not to drop an F-bomb. He was trying to say the Earth and the stars made it.
yeah, they made.
But there was
sweet,
only
sweet
one word
love.
that could go through his head, and he was like, no, not on the podcast. This is great.
So yeah, just the notion that there was like a pantheon of Titans that predate the current pantheon of Theros gods. I was like, oh, sweet, this is really interesting. And the ones you can see Croxa and Uro most clearly on the art for Binding of the Titans, but there is another one.
Or
back
two
there
more
somewhere.
behind
There's a
Clothis,
couple,
too. Yeah.
I was really curious in this about the red flowers
Yeah.
that are growing here.
Yeah, the color on this painting is pretty neat.
And I
Like
was
the
really-
gold ring pops out and the red flowers pop out, right?
I was really wondering where the red flowers were, like, if that was a specific reference to something. Because they're very, like, they're out there.
Yeah.
Like, you want to look at the golden ring, but your eye is also drawn.
There'll be more on that and some of the Titans in just a moment, but there's one more saga that I want to talk about, which is the first Iroan Games, which is obviously a reference to the Olympics. But here are some fun historical tidbits about the Olympics that Raber wanted to share. So while the card obviously represents the way that athletes train and compete, the gold token presented at the end would initially seem odd historically. So, okay. And yes, many people were very quick to point out that I think it was flavor text in the original Theros block, it specifically states that like the Iroan Games do not give out gold medals.
Right.
But whatever. Anyway, so the modern day Olympics do gold, silver, and bronze. During the Olympics of ancient Greece, they didn't prize with precious metals. You were given a laurel wreath. But that doesn't make this completely inaccurate, because while the winners of the Olympics were not given gold, they were still richly rewarded when they got home for winning, either with an amphora of high quality olive oil, which was very useful and expensive back in the day, as well as just general wealth.
Oh, okay. So kind of like the Oscar gift bag,
Yeah.
right? Containing, like,
Also, probably just if you go home and everyone finds out that you won the games, like they're more likely to probably
Like,
hire
give you
you
stuff?
and
Yeah.
or let you marry their daughter, or like
laurels. I wanted gold.
Yeah.
Laurels can be used to procure many goods and services.
Yeah.
Explain how.
A further cool note about this is the art, obviously, on the card. We've been talking about the art a lot, and this is done in the style of ancient Greek red and black pottery.
Right.
And depicts many of the sports done at ancient Greek events. The running events, boxing and wrestling, discus and javelin toss. And fun tidbit, the black on red style of pottery isn't done with paint. It's by painting on a thin layer of slip, which is sort of very, very liquidy clay. And then when heated in the kiln, if they make sure to close it off of oxygen, the slip becomes black.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not done with paint. It was just done with like
Different clay.
heat treating different densities of clay in different ways.
Neat.
Which I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
And let's talk about some legendary creatures, and and we'll get through a few of them, and that may be where we have to leave it for this week. But we'll have more Greek myths next time. So let's actually talk about the Titans. Let's start with Kroxa. So Kroxa is probably a representation of Kronos in his form as the cannibalistic eater of his own children. Kronos ate his children. They had the children. The Titans had all their children, and Kronos was like, oh, they're going to usurp us. I should eat them all. And then they cut out of him, and then they defeated him.
I heard a very interesting explanation for that, which was that Kronos was also associated with, like, all the gods or the Titans had metals associated with them. And the one associated with Kronos was lead.
Oh, okay. And so other metals pierce lead more easily? Like if you
No.
It
It was just that lead poisoning leads to significant behavioral problems.
Oh. Neat.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So that may have... Why associate this god with this metal? Well, maybe it was because
He was super crazy.
Yeah. And violent and, like, unpredictable.
Beethoven also, I think, affected by lead poisoning.
I
It's
hadn't heard that.
It was in the wine bottles in the Renaissance time, I think. Yeah.
So Reber, who points out that they have literally written a paper about Kronos' characterization in the greater Greek myth,
Oh.
points out that we don't see any of Kronos' on this card, Titan of Death's Hunger. We don't see any of Kronos' less monstrous traits, such as his rule over the golden age of humanity, or how he was later released by Zeus to be the king of the Isles of the Blessed.
Oh.
So, Kronos had a redemption arc, but Kroxa, maybe not. But
Well, he does attack for 6.
the Greeks
times nine.
even had a festival in his name called Chronia.
Oh.
They were like, you know what? Maybe he's not so bad. But yeah, basically had a bunch of kids, heard a prophecy that the kids were going to supplant him, and went, I'm going to eat him. And it didn't really pan out for them.
I mean, they got 8.
Yeah.
And
They were
cut their
eaten
way
for a while.
They were.
Oh my
they
god,
were
it's
eaten.
4.
I mean, yeah, a little bit. Then the other Titan, Uro, most likely a reference to Oceanus, the Titan of the sea, maybe combined with Gaia a little bit. So Gaia is the primordial concept of the earth. That's what I was talking about earlier. The story text refer to him sleeping under the ocean. And we don't know too much about Oceanus in Greek myth besides his general form, which is he had like a crab kind of horns, and there's a lot of fish and sort of serpent imagery. And he's not listed as having been sealed in Tartarus. He shows
does
up.
that mean? Sorry.
Sorry, that's where they sealed all the Titans.
Oh, okay,
In the real Greek myths, that's where the gods sealed all the Titans, not necessarily in the underworld. They sealed them in Tartarus. So even though Uro is shown to having been bound here, Oceanus was not actually sealed away. Yeah, that's about it. Sorry, that's all I have for Oceanus. Right, because Oceanus was strictly neutral in the Titanomachy. Machi. He shows up in Prometheus Bound to talk to the chained Prometheus, was not involved in the castration of Uranos, and was strictly neutral in the Titamancy. So Oceanus was just like, I'm the sea.
How'd that work out?
And yeah, exactly. Just sort of went away. So, all right, let's talk about some more legendary creatures, and then we will wrap up for the day. Thrix, likely a reference to one of the personified winds, known as the Anemoi. That or a combination of all four. The Anemoi are composed of the north wind Boreas, the east wind Eros, the west wind Zephyros, and the south wind Notos. Of these, I would think either Zephyros or Notos are the closest to Thrix in direct comparison. Zephyros is described as stormy and swift, while Hesiod warns in Works and Days not to sail when Notos, the south wind, is most powerful, which is to say in the autumn. Notably, despite the seemingly odd connection between Thrix and Thrasa, in Homer's Odyssey we see Poseidon changing the weather and sending the winds out in their personified forms. So maybe that's the connection that Watsy sort of picked up on when they're like, this is the personification of the wind. It's Thrix, the storm. So I think that's really cool.
And a pretty good card. Like
Thrix is a bonkers card.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this getting flopped on in some standard decks.
Hit it with your arrow, Steve.
Yeah. And definitely kind of exciting in Commander.
Yeah.
You thinking about 6 minutes, Thrix is going to be like, what is that smell? And then just be like, oh,
I stepped on a
I
guy.
stepped on a guy.
Aluros is, everyone picked up on this one pretty quick. This is Narcissus, a beautiful human who, due to his incredibly heartless shooting down of one of several characters in his myth, sometimes it's tied into the myth of Echo, sometimes it's someone else, is cursed. It's unclear if he's specifically cursed or just his raging narcissism is now taking advantage of him. But anyway, he's cursed to gaze into the pool, seeing his reflection, longing for an ephemeral perfection that he can never reach, and he stays there by the pool looking at his reflection for so long that he turns into a flower, the Narcissus.
Neat.
That's where we get the flower. It used to be a guy.
I mean, really, what do you think is going to happen if you name your kid Narcissus?
Yeah.
Sounds an awful lot like narcissism, to be honest. I think this kid was just set up to fail.
That's so weird that those words sound so similar.
I know.
What a random happenstance.
What's weird to me is that he turned into a flower instead of just dying of thirst.
Well,
I
maybe
guess
he
he's
died
right in
of-
front of a pool. Maybe he could drink it, or dying of hunger. I don't know.
We call this the upcycle.
Okay.
Arasta, pretty clear reference to Arachne, the mortal woman who upsets Athena by claiming that her skill outmatches the goddess's skill at doing crafts. And Athena steps in, and after a weaving competition where they both create excellent tapestries, she chastises Arachne for making a tapestry featuring multiple instances of infidelity among the Olympians, and which is definitely a power move.
Yep.
Would not recommend. She destroys Arachne's loom for her outrageous pride, and Arachne in some tellings is now cursed with terrible guilt or tries to kill herself, and Athena takes pity and transforms her into the first spider. And so that's where spiders come from.
She would go on to be the second boss in Dark Souls.
Really, this looks super Dark Souls. But yeah, but definitely the mother of all spiders, Arasta of the Endless Web.
Just a quick recap if you weren't listening for the last 30 seconds. Pisses off a god. The god breaks some of her stuff.
Yep.
Her most expensive, most valuable item. And then she's racked with guilt after that. Not the god. The person who just had their stuff smashed is now guilty. Okay,
I mean, to be
that's
perfectly
weird,
fair.
but then, to make her feel better, turns her into a spider.
To be perfectly fair, I've definitely read a lot that says Arachne got off very light by the standards of the Greek gods.
Okay.
Yeah, big time.
Like the fact that she wasn't turned into a smoldering crater for stepping into the ring with one of the gods.
Sure.
Was already like, this is very fair play from Athena by the standards of the Greeks.
And let's finish off with Big Polly K.
Yay.
Polukronos. It's a Hydra. The most notable appearance of Hydra in Greek myth was during the labors of Heracles, where he slew the Lernaean Hydra by cutting off their heads and burning the stumps, which is an act that Elspeth reenacted in the original Theros block by cutting the beast's heads in half perfectly from the nose down, preventing regeneration. Which is freaky. In Greek myth, the Lernaean Hydra was noted to be the spawn of Typhon and Echidna. Now, Typhon, because Voracious Typhon, great card in draft. Typhon was a singular being in Greek myth, or is a singular being in Greek myth, whereas in the Magic card, it's just like, oh, this is just a hungry that thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is just kind of interesting.
We have Typhon. We have several of those.
Yeah. Many Greek myths involving horrifying monsters came from Typhon and Echidna. They got busy a lot and made awful things.
Aren't echidnas very small and cute?
Yes.
Right, and
but
echidna
not
is
this
an
one.
Australian porcupine, right?
Yeah.
Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah.
And what's a typhon? It's a snake? No. What is typhon?
Typhon and echidna were just beings. They're
okay.
like godlike figures in Greek myth as well.
They're not like some fuzzy thing and some spiky
They were
thing.
they were monsters, but they're not like echidna, the Greek monster.
So
It's a very
we just
tenuous
need to
relationship
cross.
with echidna,
Is not the
I'm hearing
monotreme.
we just need to put an echidna in a cage with
With
a
a snake.
cobra, and then boom, we have Jurassic Park.
Or we don't have to feed the cobra for a while. Or probably actually the no.
I'm sure there's a YouTube video of this already.
Oh.
Sorry.
So check this out. Several works, such as the Aeneid, Hercules Furens, and the Argonautica, mention that the shade of the Lernaean Hydra, like the sort of the shadow of it after its death, the shadow of it is still in the Greek underworld, where it serves as a guard and companion to Cerberus,
Oh, really?
which is
Right.
what's happening to
Yeah,
Peluchronos
yeah.
in this set, which is kind of great.
I like that.
Raper says they're very impressed, actually, that it happened to fall this close to what actually happened. So, but we're coming up on the hour for this episode. Got more legendary creatures, and then just some fun notes from like other non-legendary creatures and artifacts and stuff from the set that I'm really excited to share. But feel like we don't want to go 2 hours on this week's episode.
Okay.
I look forward to picking it up again next
Me
week.
too.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks again to Raber and
so excited.
Raven.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for doing, again, the vast majority of the heavy lifting and research for this, because frankly, you know better than I do. So, haha, I'm just a keener. You actually study this. So, thanks for that. And thanks to you all for listening to us today as ever. Want to shout out to Card Kingdom, sponsor of this show, cardkingdom.com/LRR. Please do go check them out. And this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thanks everybody for listening. I've been Graham.
I was Cameron.
I was Nelson.
James is on tech. Heather gets these online. Thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.